February is Black History Month in Canada, and numerous events are scheduled in Barrie and Simcoe County to celebrate the history, culture, and contributions of the Black community in the region. On February 23rd and 24th, the Georgian Theatre in Barrie will host Lost Heroes of Oro, a play about a Black Canadian hero, the Underground Railroad, a daring escape from slavery, and building of a church. Simcoe Community Media spoke with Alinka Angelova, the writer and director of the play, about why she chose this story and how the play came together, including her unique style of writing, casting, and directing. Hope you enjoy the video.
Hi, my name is Alinka Angelova, and I'm the writer and director of the show coming up next week called Lost Heroes of Oro. Lost Heroes of Oro is documenting the history surrounding the Oro Methodist Episcopal Church in Oro Methodist. What people don't know, especially me, I didn't even know, and I've been living here since 1996. I did not know that the Oro Methodist Episcopal Church was the last stop for the Black slaves coming through the Underground Railroad in Oro Methodist. Now, so what we did in this show, we tried to take history and document history through music, song, and dance. Because we wanted to make it appealing for teens, for children, and for adults as well. I know sometimes when we document the dark times of our history, of Canadian history, people leave the theater feeling, a little sad. I don't know if they feel like, like a depressing show, but this is not what Lost Heroes is. Lost Heroes of Oro, yes, we talk about the dark times. Yes, we talk about the struggles that we had back in our history, back in history. However, you will leave the theater feeling loved. You'll leave the theater feeling inspired and motivated. And also, you're going to learn a lot in history. You're going to learn that Richard Pierpoint, who was a Canadian hero, he is also connected to the Oro Methodist Episcopal Church. He fought in the War of 1812, which granted his freedom here in Canada. And he was granted land in Canada. And in the next war, what he did, he created a color corps, and they were a militia in the war. And those same colored corps helped to build the Oro Methodist Episcopal Church. And they say if you look closely, you'll still see their fingerprints in the walls. So they helped to build it along with Robert Runchy, and that's how it connects to the Oro Church.
What was your inspiration behind choosing this particular story?
Well, you know what? My husband is the one that showed me this church. We were driving by one day, and he showed me this church. He said, "You know what that church is used for?" And I said, "No, I didn't know." And I've been here longer than he has. And he told me what it was for, and I was I was amazed that is right here in our local area. And so a few years later, a company asked me to write a story about the Oro Methodist Episcopal Church. And that's what kind of inspired me to write this story. And so as I was researching, that's how I connected everything together. And I came up with somewhat of a beautiful story.
And why did you choose the specific, the treatment for the play? So like the theme you said, it's yes. Dance, songs, and it's also towards the children and teens.
Yes. So I wrote this story specifically, the way I wrote it like a musical because, first of all, I love musicals, and I only write musicals. I mean, I can write plays as well, but I love musicals. And I think that because history, like when I was in school, it was boring. That's just for me. Not everybody thinks that. But a lot of the students think that history is boring. So I had to figure out a way how to make it appealing. And I know that music catches everyone's attention. A lot of drama catches people's attention. So when you have musical song and dance, it kind of heightens the musical and makes it more interesting, makes it more inspiring, something that you want to watch. And that's why I chose a musical for this story.
So once you wrote the story, how did you, chose the performers, and
Yes.
how was that process for you?
It's funny because as a director, I can see people and I can say, okay, that character would be good for this and this. So what I did, at first I was going to do an open call, but then I started thinking about characters that I know that I think could play these roles. for the lead character, Richard Brown, he was actually in the one that we did previously in 2022, and I just had to use him again because he fit the role perfectly. And then it's so funny, things like, the way it happened, it was almost like fate. I was doing another show, and I saw a girl in the audience that I know, and I looked at her and I said, she would make a really good roomie. And that's another character in the play, so I approached her.
So she was there as in the audience during your
watching.
Play.
She didn't think anything. And when I went to talk to her, she's like, Alinka, I have been saying in my head, I want to do a musical. I want to do a musical for so many months now. So she said that, and here we are.
Wow.
So yeah, that was good for her. And then my niece, she was the choreographer last time, and I never thought of her for the role of Nyota. And I was looking for a really good Nyota. And then one of my other teachers came to me and she said, you know, Alinka, Tiana has been practicing that main song for Nyota. And I said, really? So I got Tiana to sing it, and I was like, oh, blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, she has to play the part. So just along the way, it's almost like fate worked for me. And it just brought me the characters, and I didn't have to go and search for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and how long did the entire process, right from the starting, right from the writing to the end of the rehearsal and everything finalized?
So I write musicals a lot, and for the writing, it took me about, I know it's really short, 2 weeks, and you probably won't believe that it took me that long, but it took me 2 weeks to write the show. So if I was to compile all the hours, it'd be 2 weeks of writing, and that's how long it took me to do the show, to write it. So now putting the show together, we were supposed to do it in 2021 or even 2020, but the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So we had to put it on hold. So we ended up doing it in 2022. And when I did it in 2022, we got rave reviews. However, of course, there were still restrictions. So a lot of people that weren't vaccinated couldn't get into the theater, and that's what happened. This time, I decided to do it it's pretty much November. And I was like, okay, let's just do the show, because I wasn't going to do it because a lot of work, but when schools approached me and said that they wanted to book seats, I said to myself, okay, I have to do the show. And then we did it from November until now. We put the show together. The show's next week. It's kind of like a pop-up show because we did it so quickly, but the characters, the actors are amazing. So they did a really good job in putting it together. So it's come together.
Not only Indian community, but all the immigrants group. Mm-hmm. And when they come to Canada, they know about the history of Canada through schools, and you don't learn this in school.
No.
Why should they come, and why should they learn about this part of the history?
Well, just like when they just come from their country and they learn about our history, well, they live here. So that's even more important to learn about where things, how things evolved here as well. Of course, it's good to know about how the communities came about, how the developments come about. So I think it's good even for their knowledge. They can see how they can even create their own stories, because they're also coming here as well. So I guess.
Yeah, awesome. Any last word that you want to add, just about when is the play, at what time, and where they can buy the tickets?
Right. So the play is next week, Friday, February 23rd at 7 p.m. And then there's also Saturday matinee at 2 p.m. and Saturday, February 24th at 7 p.m. So on February 24th, there's a 2 p.m. show and a 7 p.m. show, and Friday, 7 p.m. show.
And where they can buy the tickets?
They can go online at ticketpro.ca. They just have to click on Ontario, and they can always search Lost Heroes of Oro. Yes.
Thank you. That was our interview with Alinka Angelova. Tune in for more Black History Month news and other news from Simcoe Community Media. Thank you for watching.